Hello YouTube, Spazzy coming right at you. I want to talk to you guys about something, so get yourself a nice drink, I've got myself some tea, sit back, relax, and hopefully enjoy. Now, I've been doing YouTube videos and Twitch streaming for almost 4 years now. It started out as something I did part-time while studying, and it has grown into my full-time job as of a little more than a year ago. And as my channels grew and as I grew in creating content, a lot of things has changed. And something happened yesterday that I need to get off my chest, I guess. A couple of disclaimers before I get into this. I'm not making this video to whine about my situation. I am a very fortunate man-child who can make a living out of my hobby. I've loved every second of it up until now, and I think I will continue to do so for a very long time. Nor am I making this video in response to anything, although any YouTuber with a decent following usually get messages directed towards this on a daily basis. I think I'm actually doing this video solemnly for me. It might be an egocentric gesture, but I'm hoping that maybe there's something for you as well. So yesterday I sat here working and I randomly ended up dropping everything that I was doing. I dropped it all to jump onto a new social platform, and this social platform was dedicated towards League of Legends, which is the game that my channel primarily is focused on and has been since I started. And it was a platform I have no presence on. I have no following there, and I went there and I created myself a username and I joined an open chat room. I talked a bit, and I did actually end up, naming myself Spazzy, so there was some of the, wait, is that the real Spazzy talk going? Which is always fun. But after a bit of random talks, I ended up inviting a few people for a normal game of League of Legends, and we played it out. I think we lost. We said GG, well played, and that was that. The rest of the day continued, but there was something different, something I couldn't put my finger on it. It was a feeling, and I didn't realize what it was until 12 hours later when I went to bed. The normal workday continued, and I had my scheduled live stream at 4 o'clock, and after a few hours I ended up streaming a little bit shorter than usual because I had streamed a long session the day before that. When I finished, I took a little break, I ate some dinner, had some delicious sushi. And then around 8 p.m. I looked at what I wanted to do with the rest of my evening. I decided that I wanted to work, which is often the case with me, partly because I've always been very invested in what I do, no matter what it has been, and partly because, like I just stated, I love what I do. I had this idea for how I could turn the live stream into an episode on my channel, and since I had it there fresh in my mind, I knew that, okay, with, this time I have left of the day, I should be able to re-render the footage into editable footage. I should be able to throw it into my editing software and make what I call the rough cut, where I turn 4 hours of streaming into 20 minutes. Maybe before midnight or so, I would even be able to get some finalized editing going, which would mean that I would get to bed around midnight. I'd be able to wake up at 7 a.m. and finish the video and have the entire rest of my day to work with my next video. But that feeling, though, that I had earlier, it's still there. And I kind of wonder what it is. It's happy, but I'm always happy. It's also sad, but Now you're sitting there wondering, why am I listening to this nerd talking about how he's planning his time at his computer? Try and bear with me. We might get somewhere with this. So I started my editing software, and after a short while, my contact at Riot Games, these are the guys that are developing the game that I play, called me on Skype and said, hey, can I just, quick talk, I just need to run down this one thing. This quick talk quickly turned into a 1 hour talk, where not one thing, but 5 things, came up, and one of those things had me required to compile a list of things that they had to get going, and I jumped on top of that right after the call. While I'm doing that, the sponsor that I'm hoping to, get to work with in the future had, required statistics, so I had to work on that graph and put that all together, the latest statistic from all my platforms, and they had a finalized contract in the going, which is usually a lengthy business, because that means that I have to read through all these 15 pages of legal stuff and make sure that everything is okay. And that's also when I realized that, oh, I haven't talked to my guy about the upcoming events, and there are 3 of them, and one of which is in August, and there's one this weekend. Will I be able to make it? At 1 a.m. I put most of this aside and I look back into my editing software and I see that the raw footage is still there, basically untouched. It's there in its 4 hours entirety, and this is nothing rare. I've decided to run my business alone, which means that this is how working works for me. I'm a pretty efficient guy at what I do, but like the most difficult thing when you're just working with yourself and a computer is to prioritize things. And usually I just juggle. I just juggle a lot of things at the same time, and that works for me. I get my videos out there. And I wouldn't be thinking twice about it if it wasn't for this bloody feeling. I still don't know what it is, but I know that it's connected to all of this somehow. Have you ever heard or read a phrase from a YouTuber or a streamer saying, "I've got a hectic schedule," or "I do not have time"? I can obviously only talk about me and my own experience, but I do believe that among, some of the slightly bigger creators, it's probably a common thing. I read a comment on one of my videos the other day where someone wrote, "As YouTubers' subscribers grow, their hearts tend to shrink." I think it was regarding a video where I didn't reply to someone who was, just trying to reach out or something like that. Now, everyone knows that it's impossible once you reach a certain, number of messages a day to keep up with it, and I think most people are okay with that, even the people writing those messages to some extent. And being pretty naive, I obviously learned the hard way that that is in fact the case. When I started YouTubing, I replied to all the comments and all the messages, even, after it began being extremely inefficient work-wise for me to do so. And when I finally slowed down, I said to myself that I'll set one rule. A rule which I've almost been able to fulfill ever since. And that is that on every Monday, I would take 4 hours out of my time, I wouldn't let anything interrupt me, and I would go through all the inboxes that consist of dedicated messages sent to me from my viewers. Far from enough to please everyone, but that's what I decided that I'd do. And it's not until these past months where some Mondays have more frequently become, like the night I'm describing here, where I'm trying to do 10 things from different angles at once, and I had to break this rule more frequently. Now, everyone around me still says that it's nothing I should beat myself up about, but see, they don't really understand. They don't realize that while this rule might please others, sure, this rule is for me. Every time I read my messages, I boost myself up to the heights where I need to be, just as a person in general, but also to do what I do. Ever since I started 4 years ago, that has been the most important thing that drives me in this. And it still is. So when I went to bed at 3 a.m. yesterday with a very unfinished video laying there in my editing software, I was finally able to put my finger on that feeling. The feeling I got from playing a fun game of League with 4 people who watched my videos. It wasn't live streamed, it wasn't meant for anything, it was for me and them. That was the feeling that people happily, casually cared. Some more and some less, but they cared. That was the happy part of the feeling. The sad part of the feeling was, of course, that I realized that if things keeps going this way, I might have to keep breaking my one rule every now and again in the future to come. The 4 hours of my Monday might still be jeopardized by the mere success provided by the people who sent those messages in the first place. And that makes me really scared. Scared of the fact that it might lead to people getting tired of talking pointlessly into the void. Scared of maybe making them stop caring. So I'm making this video for me to go back to when, this maybe inevitably happens in the future again. And hopefully, in the best scenario, I'm making it for those of you who do care. And I want you to know how important it is to me that you do. And if you'd stop, I don't know, that'd be scary. So know this, my friends. I might not reply. It might not feel like I'm there. But I am. Please, please don't stop. Do it. That's a different kind of dudes.